Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Well, guys, okay, this is out of geoengineeringwatch.org. And in case you haven't been here before, definitely check it out. Almost 32 million people have checked it out. This is Dane Wigington's site, and he's awesome. And he has been one of the people at the forefront of exposing chemtrails and geoengineering and everything that's going on in the skies over our heads. And I have to tell you guys that, there was a point in time that I was completely convinced in the grand solar minimum. And I had kind of bought it almost hook, line, and sinker. There was maybe slight reservations, but I was pretty convinced. And I'm honestly not convinced anymore. And actually, the more I think about it, the more things I see, the more I think that everything is basically geoengineering going on. It's as I said before in other videos, what came first, the chicken or the egg? We see more chemtrails every single day, and now it's getting quote unquote colder, and now we're heading into a grand solar minimum. Are they doing it really because of global warming, or are they just trying to basically convince us of another paradigm? And really, what the bleep are they doing? Because there is tons of evidence, there's patents, there's so much stuff, and this gentleman has done so much to go deep and uncover what's going on in the skies over our heads. So I have a link for his YouTube channel, which I hope you guys will go and subscribe to his YouTube channel as well, because I've gotten so many people saying oh, check out this video, check out that on the grand solar minimum, and I've studied it inside now, and I understand about sunspot activity, but as we get closer into this and we start questioning the nature of our reality, even, you got to question all sources, question everything. Don't just blindly believe. Do your due diligence and check it out. So right here, Geoengineering Watch has again captured radar animations that prove geoengineering operations are manufacturing winter weather over specific regions. The increasingly desperate and destructive operations being carried out by the weather makers is far beyond alarming. Geoengineering winter weather events are one of the primary missions of the climate engineers, as an abrupt climate collapse scenario continues to unfold on planet Earth, a scenario being further fueled overall by climate engineering itself. Patented processes of chemical ice nucleation, right? And we're going to show that. There's links here for you guys to check out everything, verify everything. Don't blindly believe anybody. Don't just go ahead and take on a new dogma until you really, really look and look into it closely. I firmly believe there are complete disinfo people amongst us, in our own quote-unquote family in so many ways, that are put there to basically give us a new dogma, a new religion. We had the religion of global warming. Now we have the religion of grand solar minimum. All of this can be manipulated and controlled by the powers that be. And there's patents out there on all of this. And this has been going on for a long time. And now they're even just coming straight out and telling us that they're going to have to start spraying chemtrails. Everything that has been so laughed at, now they're coming out and saying, oh, we're going to have no choice. We're going to have to go ahead and do stratospheric atmosphere injections. And, it's right in our face now. So as this says, why aren't so-called weather experts willing to acknowledge the massive climate engineering operations and their impacts? Because their paychecks and pensions depend on their denial. The illegal federal gag order on all National Weather Service and all National Oceanic, and I'm going to open that link for you guys, and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, employees is a case in point. They're not allowed to talk on it. They could go to jail. They could get fined. They could lose their jobs. It's very, very sad, but it's a fact. And so there's a video here by Dane that I hope you guys will watch. He's awesome. He knows his stuff. He really, really does. He's been doing this forever. So it's imperative that all populations be awakened to the climate engineering operations. It's just as important that the full scope and scale of these programs are understood. There can be no valid discussion of the climate without addressing the climate engineering issue. You know, when you take what they're doing to manufacture outcomes out of the mix, what's the real numbers going to show? Think about that. Equally true, there can be no legitimate discussion of climate engineering. Well, basically we covered that. But without addressing the chemical ice nucleation processes, because that's part of this whole thing, and the engineered winter events. These processes help to create. And you know what? So many of you guys are telling me, hey, you just said there was 15 inches of snow in Alberta, Canada. Well, you know, it was really only 8 inches. Or, you know, hey, you just quoted this source, you know, from, say, Electroverse or any of these sources that are out there talking about these events, right? And they're saying, well, no, it's been worse before. I mean, people that actually live in the areas. So what's going on? They have an agenda that they're pushing. That's the bottom line. And, you know, there are even some whole people out in our community, you know, YouTubers that are pushing agendas. So think about it. You know, this is all part of a bigger plan. Look into everything and recognize that, as always, right, we have the left and the right. You know, we have Republicans and Democrats. We have liberals and conservatives. You know, we have, you could go into the religious points of view. We have Christianity and Islam, you know. They're always setting us up to be at odds with each other. And now we have one other. We have people that believe in grand solar minimum and those that believe in global warming. So it's just another part of that duality that they're trying to push on us, because they always want us to be in a state of conflict between each other. And so that way we will be interested in basically making sure that everybody converts to our way of thinking, you know. And you gotta know the real side of the story. This is the truth, you know. And we embrace these dogmas and we start preaching these dogmas left and right. And so often they're just given to us in order to create disharmony, disunity, and keep us from actually seeing the truth. So all of us are needed in this essential effort to raise and reach a critical mass of awareness. Share credible data from credible sources. Make every day count. And so, you know, please do check this out over here. Government implements illegal gag order on National Weather Service and all NOAA employees. The power structure is beginning to panic as the public wakes up to the criminal climate engineering insanity. The growing police state is completely out of control and becoming unimaginably blatant with their actions. In recent weeks, Washington has placed gag orders on the following agency employees: the National Weather Service, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the U.S. Department of Commerce. This is a massive red flag that should trigger alarm bells to everyone. Bill Hopkins, the Executive Vice President for the National Weather Service Employees Organization, said this: "As a taxpayer, I find it highly disturbing that a government agency continues to push gag orders to hide how they operate. This is the work of the American government, owned by the American public, and should be open to the American public." Jeff Ruch, the Executive Director, PEER, Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility, said this about the gag orders: "The National Weather Service is the last place where national security-style secrecy rules need to be enforced." Ruch noted that the broad scope of gag orders put much of what goes on inside the agency under wraps. Everyone is free to talk about the weather except for the people working inside the National Weather Service. Go figure that out. Some time ago, I personally spoke to a NOAA scientist that said, "We all know what is going on, climate engineering, but we are afraid to speak out. We have no First Amendment protection." The new gag order is a further muzzling of the NWS and NOAA. It's likely that there are many in the National Weather Service and NOAA that had enough of the lying about what's really going on in our skies. And as it says, massive atmospheric aerosol spraying assaults are constant around the globe. Almost all meteorologists have so far denied the all too obvious ongoing climate engineering operations. Other weather agencies and personnel have also been actively engaged in public deception. What did BBC meteorologist Ian Ferguson say about the picture below? When rain, ice crystals, or snow falls but evaporates before reaching the ground, it's a natural phenomenon called virga, or fall streak. The so-called experts are naming jet aircraft sprayed aerosol clouds as if they are produced by nature. From a report by Peer, contains the following statement. This summer, the National Weather Service began requiring a signed confidentiality agreement from NWSEO participants along with all participants on the OWA teams. These agreements purport to bind NWSEO representatives from communicating with its members of Congress, or any other person regarding agency plans and how they are determined. These agreements also do not contain terms allowing reports or actual or impending law or rule violations, gross mismanagement, waste, or abuse. And it continued, the National Weather Service, NOAA, and Commerce are presently implementing and enforcing non-disclosure agreements which violate the law. So we are officially living in an Orwellian police state where any who dare to try to tell the truth are dealt with severely. Forcing the employees of national weather and climate agencies to sign confidentiality agreements is extremely alarming, with unimaginable potential consequences. But not surprisingly, given that we know what we know about the cataclysms being caused by the rapidly growing climate engineering elephant in the room. Some may mistake the gag order to be only about union issues, but it's not the case, as quotes from above taken by the Peer reports make clear. The decimation and mortality that has already been inflicted in our biosphere and all life from global geoengineering is so immense that it can never be calculated. The weather warfare insanity is finally becoming all but impossible to hide. The recent gag orders are a sign of true desperation on the part of the power structure. Now more than ever, we must all keep up our pace in the battle to expose and halt climate engineering. And over here, creating snowstorms, the Nolenberg patent. The engineering cool downs and artificial snowstorms are already in full swing in parts of the U.S., even as the sweltering triple-digit heat in the western U.S. continues to break high temperature records. Most of the population, as of yet, has no idea that the record cool downs in a record warm world are anything but natural. Even many anti-geoengineering activists still seem unwilling to connect this important part of the puzzle. The patent below is for the purpose of artificial ice nucleation for winter weather modification. The climate engineers have been at this for a long time. The patent is from 1966, but similar patents go all the way back to 1950. The more relevant parts of this patent are highlighted in yellow for easier review. This patent should give pause to those that still doubt the magnitude of what's happening in our skies. The weather makers do in fact own the weather, but their ongoing experiments will decimate Earth's life support systems beyond repair if they are allowed to continue. And that's from Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org. And so you could click on this and look for yourself. I have all the links for you guys. So, let's not throw one dogma out the window to just simply replace it with another dogma that's given to us by the same people who gave us the first dogma in the first place. Because this is all about control, and this is all about creating events that we will witness with our eyes and say it's an act of God, but no, it's an act of man. And so we need to open our eyes to these things and recognize the bigger picture that's going on. And so, we have to recognize and witness our own abilities as well to simply speak up and share and just say no. We were just watching in France what happened I'm not saying we should take to the streets and riots and disruption. We don't want to be disruptive. We don't want to cause havoc and create mayhem and destroy personal property. But we do want to demand answers. We want to demand to know exactly why they're doing what they're doing and what they're putting in our heads, up in the air over our heads, what we're actually breathing in and drinking in our water supplies. We have a right to know because the governments are created for the people. But yet, somehow the people are kept in the dark. And so we must demand to know. And we must wake up as many people as possible to these things that are going on. So let us not just simply adapt a new dogma that they're giving to us to feed us into a frenzy on the opposite side, and also to keep us separated from our brothers and sisters that are still believing the old dogma. Instead, let us recognize the manipulation that's going on all levels, and let us not be drawn into drama. Instead, let us actually demand real change and real knowledge of what's going on. So as always, my friends, I look forward to your comments. God bless. Namaste.